Good afternoon, boys and girls from the internet. I've recorded this podcast like twice because in the first one it was perfect, and at the end of the podcast there was a big uh, truck like with kind of a speaker like reproducing music, but in a huge volume outside of my house. So then I had to record this again. So I'm sorry if you don't see like that emotion that is like characteristic from my podcast, like every day. So I wanted also to tell you that I was watching the last two podcasts, and I think in the first one I talked really fast. In the second one, I tried to speak a little bit slower. But well, in this one, I wanted to tell you that what I saw in those two podcasts is that I had a fracture in this bone in my mandibula. So that's why you can see me like making rare things with my mouth. I'm sorry that if that is like annoying for you, but well, I can't avoid it. It hurt me a lot. It was about a year ago I got that fracture. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but well, yes, that's what happened, and that's why I speak really is French. So today we will be talking about different things. We will be talking about music history, and we will be talking about a lot of things. So I hope this won't be too long, and I hope you guys really like it because today I investigated a lot, and well, I have planned to tell you a lot of things. So let's start. In this podcast, it's like an educational podcast because I tried to tell you some things about music. I think it's really important to have a basic knowledge in music because art is really important in our lives. I mean, what would quarantine be without music, without cinema, without the movies? I'm sorry, without theater, without poetry. What could have we done without all the arts? So that's why I think it is important for all of the people to have a basic knowledge in music because um, that way we can like understand better this art and to choose what art do we want to consume, like which artist and to understand the music. So we will be talking about the compasses. Well, compasses are the maximum and minimum. It's like the specific amount of time that you can spend in each compass. I'm going to tell you. Last podcast, we were talking about pentagram. Well, at the beginning of the pentagram, next to the key that I told you that there's the G key and the F key, it says 4 quarters, 3 quarters, 2 quarters, 5 quarters. There are a lot. So it means like the maximum amount of notes of time that you can put in each compass. Compasses in the pentagram are divided with kind of lines, vertical lines. We know there are 5 lines or horizontal lines, and there's one vertical line for each compass. So the most important one and the most used one is the 4 quarter compass. And this compass is used in almost all of the songs, but the 3 quarter compass is this one, for example. That's the 3 quarter compass. It is often used in the vals. For example, when you are about to dance, like kind of in a wedding or something, it's like chantata, chantata, and you dance with that basic compass. Um, it means that in the 3rd quarter you can put 3 quarters for each compass, and in the 4th quarter you can use 4 quarters for each compass. It's like the maximum and what you can and you must use for each compass. So I hope you guys understand this, and if you don't, you will understand it when the next things that I'm going to talk about. We will be talking about the figures. So The figures are like the what you can write in a pentagram so people can read it and they can play it at their houses. Well, let me tell you, the industry in the music has changed amazingly. For example, nowadays you go to an OXXO, I don't know, and you buy your card of Spotify or you or iTunes, I don't know, whatever you use, or you consume music but with ads, and that's the way the artists get like money for from their the things that they are like producing. But well, in those times, specifically in the middle age, music was consumed in another way. For example, when the classical musicians wrote and composed their music, they used to sell like the music sheets so people could play them at home or to hire someone to play for them. And usually those composers were not like they didn't work specifically for them. They used to work like for the queens or the kings or like for the family of the king, they were kind of slaves. And today we will be talking about like the principal characters in history which gave them that freedom that they we have nowadays, specifically as artists, and that people have to understand and to consume music. But yes, in those times, specifically in the well around the 14th century more or less, music was consumed in that way. Music sheets were sold, and because thanks to the pentagrams and the correct usage of all of the figures and all the like the knowledge that each artist needed to have in order to be able to play those music that music, it was important to consume that music, but it was the only way they could do it. So then they started to sell like the vinilos and then the CDs and things like that. But music industry has changed a lot. And for example, the biggest time of music industry, or when it was like richest, was in the 20th century, when like thanks to the CDs and all those kind of things, because it was really expensive. So then people who worked in musical things, they received a lot of money. And nowadays this industry, it's like really cheap to consume, and it's not really affordable like for someone to pay for an album or something like that and then sell it. It's not really easy for someone to do that. But well, we are going to talk about the figures in the pentagram. And well, I draw in the last time I recorded this, as I told you, there was a car making a lot of noise next to my house, so I had to record it again. But I will show you like the figures that I wrote during that podcast. So I had to record this twice. I'm sorry for that, guys. Well, this one it's called a round. The round, as I told you, has a value of 4 quarters. So then it can only be used in the 4 quarter compass or in the 5 quarter compass. If you're only listening to us, the round it's like just like a circle, and you must like put it in the place of the pentagram where it means what you want it to mean. For example, if you want it to mean G, you are going to put it in the second line of the pentagram. If you want it to mean for example, B, you are going to put it in the third line of the pentagram. So that's the way you can use it. But you can only use the round in the 4 quarter pentagram and in the fifth quarter pentagram and all of the above. But you can not use it, for example, in the third quarter pentagram. So now I'm going to talk to you about this other one. This is called the white note. For example, if you're listening to us, it's just like a circle and it has a line. It's just like a V but inverted. And this white note means 2 quarters. So then I got my guitar here and I'm going to represent. First, I'm going to represent like the round note. So then this is the round note. Listen. 1, 2, three, four. A quarter is not specifically like a second. It's like a heartbeat. That's why it is hard sometimes to get together with a band and all of them be in the same compass because there's not like a specific rule for that. You can use a metronome, but it is kind of strange to use because you have to choose like the tempo. For example, if you choose a tempo of 150 beats per minute, it's going to be like real fast, pam, 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 pam. And if you choose like a kind of 60 tempo, you are going to listen to that really slow. Dun, dun. So then it's basically like a heartbeat, and the usual tempo that we are going to use it's 100. So then that this is the round note. One, two, three, four. Now this is the white note. The white note has a value of two quarters. So then here's the white note. One, two. I'm sorry for that. So that is like a kind of white note, and well, now we are going to talk about the black note. It's this one, and for the people who are only listening to us, it's the same than the white note, but it is black, like its name says. Like and the black note has a value of one quarter. So you are going to be able to use it four times in one compass if that compass is of four quarters. So then this is like a black note. That's a black note. And now the last one is well, there are a lot of more, but for example, this other one it's called quaver. The quaver is this one. It's just one. For example, I'm going to draw another one. This is a quaver, and these are two quavers. Um, a quaver has the value of the middle of black note. So if you get together like a two quavers, it makes a black note. So for example, you can do, and it's like the same time that playing. The first one were two quavers, and the second one was one black. So then a quaver, it's like the half part of a black one. So there are much more. For example, there's this one called a semi-quaver, which is like the half part of a quaver. And for example, this is like tómatelo, tómatelo, tómatelo. That's in Spanish. For example, we use a word for each one, like to identify them. As I told you in the last podcast, the art of saying the notes like verbally, it's not an art. It's like a way to learn. It's called solfa. And usually in all of the music schools, we have that class. Well, I'm not going to a music school right now, but I used to go. I have been like in three music schools. So then, like that is called like references that we have. And for example, we have another one that is called in Spanish it's called tresillo, and in in English we call it twigs or twice. And it is composed of three quaves, three quaves, three quavers. I'm sorry. So then that is kind of like this. I'm going to try to draw it, and it has a tree upon it. It's this one. It's like three quavers, and you draw a tree above it. So it means like Mexico, Mexico. Like the first one, it has an accent. So if you listen to like the contemporary music, especially reggaeton, it's based in these twigs. These twice, in Spanish, tresillos, are the basic unit of reggaeton. For example, um, that's reggaeton. That's like the beat of reggaeton. I've just done it with my hands. I don't know why. But yes, that's the basic unit of reggaeton. And a lot of people don't know that reggaeton was brought to America from African people. Like the slaves brought that rhythm, and now little by little, like music started to incorporate that rhythm into our music. I'm not against reggaeton because I think it's as as good as any other genre. I don't like reggaeton in my personal way, but I think what is wrong is not the rhythm. The rhythm doesn't have anything wrong. I think what is wrong are the people who write the lyrics, because sometimes the lyrics are just disgusting. So reggaeton, it's that. It's only that rhythm. So basically, some parts of the music are based in the rhythm, and then you add harmonies, you add chords, or you add something like that. But contemporary music uses only the rhythm, which is not really good music in my opinion. But well, let's not talk about that, because we're going to get into really, how can I say it, uh, in a discussion, because I know a lot of people love reggaeton, but I don't know. I don't really like it in my specific opinion. I remember this is not my opinion. I mean, I'm not completely alright. But well, music in the Middle Age. This is interesting. Um, Music in the Middle Age was based in Roman music. Middle Age was, for example, from the 5th century, more or less, until the 15th century, around 10 centuries. Music in the Middle Age was based in the Gregorian singing. So, Gregorian singing was like kind of liturgical melodies. And it's interesting to hear that it is still used in some churches in Europe and also here in America, I think. I'm not really sure. Um, for example, from Gregorian singing, it came another important part in music history, which is monodic music. Monodic music, as I told you, was also really used in Greece, because Greece is really known because of their poetry and their literature, and monodic music was famous because of troubadours and minstrels. Troubadours were people who wrote and composed their own like poems with music, and minstrels were the ones who just like who played that music and who sang that music. So then it came the Renaissance, and the Renaissance, I think, it was one of the most important periods of art in all of the history. Thanks to this era, like the musicians started to get like this kind of freedom, because as I told you, musicians were kind of slaves. Like they worked for the kings and queens, and they did not have like a real payment. They just allowed them to live there, and they just allowed them to eat what they ate. Well, not what they ate, but like a specific food for each person. Like from they were treated as slaves at last. So today we are going to talk really about a really important person in music history, who is Flavio Batterio Constantino, who was a Roman emperor. And in this Roman emperor gave the freedom of worship for the Christians. So Christians, even though their music is not really accepted nowadays, it was really important in music history because they were important for because thanks to them like music started to get like a little freedom. So Christians like they didn't want to use like the Roman pagan music that they used to use when they were not free to worship their own gods and they started to use oriental melodies to make their own music, which I think is really interesting. um, Renaissance it's was a period from 1450 to the until the 1600, and it was that period where it was like a kind of revolution, and I think it's one of the most beautiful periods in the whole history. Well, flamenco music started to get really popular in Europe in those times, and also in Netherlands. Well, Netherlands advanced a lot in music because of their good like situation in economy. I think economy has a lot of things to do with art. Like I think having a good economy gives artists the opportunity to make their art. So I think it's really important for a country to have a good economy in order to have good artists. Um, Josquin Después, I think it's pronounced like that because he was born in France. I'm sorry, he was born in France, but he went to live to Italy. So then he got that strange last name. I hope I'm pronouncing it well. Josquin Después. Well, he was really popular in those times because he had a peculiar style to compose and to play. Something strange about this composer is that he only composed when he wanted to. And as I told you, like composers used to be like kind of slaves, thanks to the kind of how can I say it? He was like kind of he went against the rules, and thanks to that, musicians started to get like a lot of freedom. Um, so then now we are going to talk about the people who are considered now classic music. My favorite one is called Bach. Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, which is his whole name, was one of the most important um, musicians in the whole history in the classical music that we have now. And for example, I hope you can see my T-shirt from the Beatles. Paul McCartney said that sometimes, composing his songs, he got several influence from Bach. For example, we can see that in his song Blackbird, which is, I think, really influenced by like that kind of melodies that Bach used in his compositions. For example, we can see all even the chords are similar to the ones that Bach used, which I think is really interesting because I love the way Paul McCartney adapted that music, which is classic music, into rock. Well, it's not rock, but it's kind of an acoustic song. So I really love that. In the last, Bach was born in 1714 and he died in 1788, which for that era was a long time. So he was really he lived a lot of years in comparison to Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Amadeus Mozart. There's a really interesting movie which is called Amadeus, and this movie talks about like the history of Mozart, and we can see like his life. It's like a kind of the life of a normal adolescent because Mozart didn't stop going to parties. That's why he died at the age of 35. Imagine it, he was really young. Um, they were kind of all of them. The three of them lived in the same time. For example, Amadeus Mozart lived in 1756 and he died in 1791. And Bach was born in 1714, so he was older than Mozart. So Mozart, as I told you, was famous since he was 5 years old. Imagine that pressure in a kid, like to tell him that he is one of the main composers in the world. Imagine that. And he was giving concerts through all Europe. He was a prodigious kid. And well, a lot of parents in those times started to educate their sons in order to be like Mozart. He was a big symbol. Um, Ludwig van Beethoven, well, he's a really big symbol because something interesting about him is that he got deaf. He got deaf. He wasn't able to hear, and he remembered this a specific sound of each note in the whole pentagram. So imagine that he was able to compose even being deaf. So he wasn't able to hear what he was composing, but he made really good compositions, even being deaf. Beethoven started, his father was really rude with him, and he was like he obligated him to study music, and he made his first compositions when he was a young child with his teacher called Christian Gottlob Neff, which is also a really important composer in music history. And well, Beethoven was born in 1770 and he died in 57 years later. As I told you, when he was like about studying with Mozart, Mozart died because he went back to see his father, and when he wanted to come back to compose with Mozart, he died. So Mozart died. Later, Beethoven was dead, but he still composed until he died also. So I think that's all today. I think that this podcast was a little long, but I hope you really guys enjoy it. I think the first podcast was a little hard to understand because my voice was like really quick and I said things really fast. And in the last one, the second one, I think I did it better because, well, I said things a little bit slower. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this podcast while going through work or to uh, while making whatever you wanted to make. Um, I think this is important, like having a basic knowledge in music history and music compositions. And well, that's all for today. See you soon.